Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I, 21 male, have an older brother, Dave, fake name, that has always been a jerk to me. There's only a 1-year gap between us, but he liked to beat me up when we were kids. And he always acted like anything that was mine was also his. He was also somewhat the golden child, which made me miserable. So no surprise I moved out at 18. My uncle is a now retired police officer and he took me in after I left home. He even hooked me up with a decommissioned Crown Vic. I absolutely love that car. I don't know why, but Dave hated the fact that I had that car. He drove 3 beater cars into the ground while my Crown Vic kept chugging along. Well, after his 3rd beater finally died when he drove it into a pole, he asked to borrow my car. I had a bad feeling and said I wasn't gonna do that. He called me entitled and said he needed a car to get to work. I told him to take the bus because I know how he drives and my Crown Vic was off limits. My parents called me after that and told me to just lend them the car. I said I won't, no matter what they say. I rely on the car and need it as well since it's my personal transportation. Dave was not the only one in the world with a job he needed to get to. My uncle congratulated me for standing up to them and gave me a high five. A few days later, when I got off work, the car wasn't where I parked it. I called my brother's cell, but he didn't pick up. Then I called my parents and asked them if he took my car. They denied it. So I said I was gonna call the cops, and then they admitted he'd borrowed it because he needed it. I told him he better bring it back right now or I will have police looking for him. They called me a jerk and then phoned Dave to bring my car back. He showed back up in a parking lot in my car 20 minutes later. I demanded to know how he stole my car and he held up a set of police Crown Vic keys he bought online. Some were made universal. I told him if he ever stole my car again, I'd have him arrested. Then he had the audacity to ask for a ride home. I told him he made me wait in the December cold after stealing my car, so he could walk. He called me a jerk before I drove away. After that, my uncle installed a tracking device in the car. When Christmas Day came, I was celebrating with my family like every year. The roads were cold and icy, so I had to be very careful while driving. By now, you're probably clued in on what will happen. Yeah, Dave borrowed my car again during the Christmas party. Apparently, he decided he was gonna go pick up a friend and figured I wouldn't notice. But I did when I looked out the front window and saw my car was missing. I pulled up the tracking app and saw he was a few miles away, then called his cell to yell at him. Everyone in the party saw this and asked what was going on. I said Dave stole my car again, and my uncle confirmed it wasn't the first time. Dave told me over the phone to screw off and he'd be back soon. I said he better not have been drinking, but he just hung up on me. Well, while I was watching the tracker app, the dot stopped and didn't move for a while. Soon, we got a panicked call from Dave asking for help. He crashed the car because he couldn't handle the icy roads and he wasn't used to a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So we piled in my parents' minivan and followed the tracker. We found Dave by the road and my Crown Vic nose deep in a snow-filled ditch. My uncle was furious as it was formerly a car of his department, and I was mad as hell at Dave for stealing my car again. My parents wanted me to let it go, but I said enough was enough. I was gonna call the police. Dave begged me not to because he really had been drinking before he set off or get a DUI. I said he was gonna pay me back for my car then, or I would sue him. Well, as luck would have it, police were already aware of the accident and were driving in to check on the scene. Someone else had called them, I guess. My parents tried to say that I was the one driving the car and they were just there to help me. I said that wasn't true, and my uncle backed me up. In fact, one of the cops that was there recognized my uncle, and they had a chat. Then they went to Dave and asked to see his license. which I then found out was suspended after he crashed his previous car. Then they press tested him. He wound up with cuffs slapped in his wrists, while my mother was crying and begging the police not to take him away. But the officer just said that she and my dad could get arrested too for lying to the police. That shut my parents up, and we got back in the minivan. The Christmas party ended early and my parents drove me and my uncle home since he rode with me. They didn't say much to either of us the whole drive, and just sped away as soon as we were out of their van. They nearly slipped off the road themselves doing that. My brother was let out of jail the next day, and he looked so scared that he was practically crying. The cops there had roughed him up a bit while talking about prison and the stuff they'd see go on there. Dave had actually pissed himself during that and they let him take a shower. And that's when my uncle started cracking up and revealed to us that his friends in the department never filed a DUI and just a charge for the suspended license, which was about a $600 fine. My uncle said he just wanted to teach Dave a lesson, and this would be the one and only time he'd ever get his help. Dave then apologized to me and said he paid to have my Crown Vic fixed, but would never touch it again. When it got pulled out of the ditch, the front end damage was actually minor. It needs a new front bumper, headlights, and a grille. The damage was just superficial, thankfully. My parents have been pretty much closed over the whole incident and act like it didn't happen. Dave gave me the extra Crown Vic keys he bought online and said this has taught him a lesson he won't soon forget. Edit. Okay guys, I'm kinda tired of so many gripping about how my uncle broke the law by keeping my brother's DUI from ever being filed. I did not consent to that, I did not want him to do it, but by the time I found out it was already done. My uncle isn't a bad person, he was actually a great cop that believed in people getting second chances, and he was thanked for that many times. Last year I saw a random man recognize my uncle and thank him for putting him on the straight and narrow some years ago. My uncle also detests racism, as do I. I won't deny the cover-up of the DUI by the department was wrong, and I have no idea how they did it, but it's already done. I no longer care about that. My brother willingly paid in full for the repairs to my car, and he's keeping out of trouble. I know he could have hurt or killed someone. That much is obvious, but he didn't. My parents should have been arrested for lying to the police too, but they weren't. But my father was arrested later anyway because he attacked a man after being called out as a narcissist, and now the situation is what is currently going on. What happened with my brother is basically done now. My father trying to cave a man's face in, I'd say is far more important at the moment than something that happened weeks ago. I've already heard it all in the comments about police corruption, needing to get my car rekeyed or have the locks changed, or several other measures. I plan to have the locks changed or rekeyed when I can afford it, but I currently can't afford it, so in the meantime, I am getting a kill switch and a steering wheel club. Okay, so just a little bit of information before I get into the story. I, 22 male, work construction and run a few crews, and I'm a foreman because I've been working in this field since I started working summers when I was 14. That's legal in my state. With this being said, I have a lot of experience and get paid really well. For my job, I need a truck that can pull a lot of trailers and also get into a lot of sketchy job sites, especially in the winter. So I drive a new lifted pickup, F350. Anyways, let's get into it. So about 4 months ago now, I got off work one day and just really didn't feel like making dinner. So I decided to go get myself the trusty Big Mac at McDonald's. Well, after I got the order, I was going to pull out into the parking lot to drive home, and I was looking hard over to my left to see how busy the road was before I got over there. Well, I wasn't paying great attention to what was happening in front of me, and as I was creeping forward, someone who was in front of me was stopped, and not paying attention either, I ended up barely hitting his mirror and scraping his door with my front end. I immediately reversed and hopped out. I made sure the guy was okay and apologized, knowing it was my fault, and I asked him if he wanted to call the cops. Let's call him Print. Print says, "Nah bro, we're all good. If you just give me your insurance information, I think we can get this taken care of." I was fine with that, as there was no damage done to my truck, and it's not required to call the cops for an accident if it occurs in a private parking lot. This is relevant later. We exchange information and he seems pretty cool, so I tell him to go get the damage bit and I'll just pay in cash, so my insurance rates don't go up as long as he's okay with it. He says that's fine and we both just leave, and I feel like a jerk. But all in all, Brent seems like a cool dude and I just hope we can get it sorted out smoothly. About a month passes by and I haven't heard anything from Brent or the shop I told him to go to. Honestly, I wasn't too stressed about this because if he decided to not get it done, that's on him. Well, he calls me up one day at about noon saying he can't remember my name and he wanted to tell the guys at the shop who sent him there cause it seemed like we knew each other. I told him my name and the guys at the shop gave him a deal. Pretty sure they say this to everyone. He sends me the bid for damages and it comes out to $2,403. This was more than I imagined, but I said to get it done and I'd take care of the bill afterward, and that was that. He hung up and said it was cool, and I went on with my day as usual. Another month goes by and I don't hear anything until Brink calls me up while I'm at work again and says, "Hey brother, I talked to the shop and they said they can get me in for another 2 weeks or so, and they may end up charging me more if they find more damage." I say, "Okay, sounds good, just let me know, man. I hope it goes smooth for you and I'm sorry for the inconvenience." He seems to take it well and I'm really trying to just be a good person. He responds with, "Well, after talking to my wife, I'm okay if you just wanted to write a check for $2,500 and we can call it even." This seemed odd to me because why the hell wouldn't someone want their vehicle repairs all paid for? I say, "Okay man, let's set a time and place to meet and I'll get you paid." He liked the idea and ended the call by telling me he would let me know. Yet, another month passes by and I hear nothing again. At this point, I'm getting fed up and just want the situation to stop being over my head. He hits me up at 11 p.m. one night and asks me if we can meet in town. I found this kind of disrespectful because I was nearly asleep and had to be at work at 5 a.m. the next day. Either way, I said that was fine and took my $2,500 cash and wrote up a quick contract saying this payment would be accepted as payment in full for the damages, and by accepting it, it would release me from any and all liability. This was a pretty fair contract, I believe, as it was a deal we had already made over the phone, just in writing. I get to the place we suggested as a meet-up spot, I give him the cash, and he signs the contract without hardly even reading it, and he didn't want a copy. This was a red flag to me, but I just assumed he really didn't care about it all that much. So I just sent him the photo of the contract and went back home for some beauty sleep. As you can guess by now, another month goes by with me just living life carefree and not a worry in the world about this stupid car accident. Well, I go to check my mail and I have a notice from this guy's lawyer that he's suing me for not paying after wrecking his car. This pissed me off, but I also knew I had plenty of text messages and a contract to my side. I immediately call Print and he plugs my number. Luckily enough, my girlfriend works for a lawyer, so I get him updated and he says he'd love to help. He lets me know I saved myself by writing that contract, as any contract worth over $500 is to be held up in any level court in my state. I immediately get to work on my revenge. I remember on the side of this guy's car, he had a business logo and I took pictures of the damage. So I hop online and get to the Triple P to look up who owns this company. Thinking that surely he couldn't own the business because he's such an idiot, I was wrong. This guy owns a company and I can see that he has about 12 one-star reviews, all in dispute because of his shady business practices, telling people it will cost one thing and then charging them 4 times what he said it would. Sound familiar? Remember when he said the shop may charge more than the original $2,403? That's right, he was suing me for $10,000. 4 times what the shop told him it would cost. Unbelievable. He was trying his same sneaky ways on me. My lawyer takes note of this and we show up to court ready for war. This guy is sleazy. As we get there and all set up, he says, "You're ready to give me more of daddy's money?" He says it with a smirk. I guess just cause I'm young and drive a nice truck and could afford $2,500. His lawyer gets up and starts trying to say some bullcrap from me, hitting and running, and Brent barely got a picture of my license plate, so I tried bullying him into taking a deal for only $2,500 when the damage was clearly more than that. There were obvious holes in his story. And he really didn't have much to say. Just imagine the smile on my face as my lawyer lays out the printouts of our text messages and a physical copy of the contract, which was signed by Brent. His lawyer was ghostly white and looked sick. After laying out all of the evidence, my lawyer pulled out a little hidden gem, a printout of all the complaints we found on the Triple P and how he was doing the same thing to me. That was the final nail in the coffin. As the judge said he had seen enough, he asked Brent for any final statement, and Brent said, "I don't even have the $2,500 anymore. Can I just get that then and we will be okay?" Literally admitting to the judge that he had received my money and his story was just a load of horse poop. I thought his lawyer was gonna strangle him. It was beautiful. The judge ended up ruling in my favor and demanded him to pay my legal fees as well as damages and lost wages because I had to miss work to be in court. The absolute sweetest part was that this particular day my crew was on a very high wage job and I was technically the one getting paid before I paid them out as subcontractors. This means I was to be paid $475 an hour. This whole ordeal took about 5 hours. He ended up having to pay me almost $5,000. I don't think I've ever been so happy in my life. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.